In the endocrine system, we used to view the pituitary gland as sort of a master control gland. And what we found over the years is that, in fact, it's not quite that simple. And what we're looking at in this video is a modern understanding of what is called the axis of central control and the way in which the endocrine system oversees major bodily processes. So let's begin with this view, which is a sagittal view of the left cerebral hemisphere. And we're going to focus on this section here, where we can see the hypothalamus of the brain. And it's going to work with the pituitary gland also shown and oversee the pituitary's function to regulate things like growth, metabolism, reproduction, and water balance. And this is what's going to form the axis of central control. So when we zoom in, here is the hypothalamus. Here is the infundibulum, which is the stalk-like connection between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland shown there now. And it's worth noting the infundibulum contains two types of connections. It contains neural pathways, and it also contains the vascular hypophyseal portal system. Just as there are two types of pathways within the infundibulum, there are two components to the pituitary gland. The posterior portion of the pituitary gland is also called the neurohypophysis. And this is a neurologically originating component. The tissue in the posterior pituitary originates from neural tissue embryonically. And the anterior portion, the adenohypophysis, is the glandular component. And both of these components are connected to the hypothalamus through the infundibulum, and each has a slightly different relationship with the hypothalamus. So if we focus on the posterior pituitary first, the hypothalamus produces a pair of hormones, ADH and oxytocin, which are transferred through neural connections in the infundibulum into cells of the posterior pituitary gland, where they are stored and then secreted to go on to other targets elsewhere in the body. So the basic relationship between the hypothalamus and the posterior pituitary gland is one of hypothalamus produces hormones, which are stored and secreted by the posterior pituitary. In the anterior pituitary, on the other hand, we find 7 hormones produced in the hypothalamus: CRH, dopamine, GHRH, GnRH, PRP, somatostatin, and TRH, all of which travel to the anterior pituitary gland through the hypophyseal portal system, where they stimulate other cells within the anterior pituitary to produce an additional set of hormones, ACTH, FSH, GH, LH, PRL, and TSH, all of which go on to target other cells in the body after they're secreted by the respective anterior pituitary cells. So to summarize central control in the endocrine system, the hypothalamus directs endocrine function by interacting with the pituitary gland. 2 of the hormones produced in the hypothalamus are stored in the posterior pituitary gland and secreted later. 7 are transported through the hypophyseal portal system to the anterior pituitary, where they trigger or inhibit secretion of another set of hormones, engaging in essence, hormonal control of secretion.